holy crap, you guys sucked. Welcome back to the King's Men, where we're going to give you some real, raw, relevant conversations. We don't prep very much for these calls. We want you to just get a feel of authenticity in a conversation, because that's what brotherhood is. It's not about being prepared and prepped, even though we are to an extent, but not to an extent where this is superficial and mechanical. We really want to give you our hearts, an authentic conversation between two brothers about being fathers, about being business owners, most important, being the King's Men, bowing to the King of Kings, rising as a king of the kingdom he has given us, taking full responsibility of all the stewardship and resource he gives us, and then multiplying and influencing others by making disciples. So Danny and I will look back at this 10 years from now and go, holy crap, you guys sucked. Because we just want to be raw, real, and relevant. We didn't want to just give you guys some canned stuff. So today we're going to talk about something that is, I don't really hear about or see a lot, Father's Day. There are a lot of funny jokes, memes. John Chris, a Christian comedian, made a great video short on Father's Day and how the church does. He did comparing Father's Day to Mother's Day, and it was hilarious, and it hurt so bad because it's so true. And that's what humor is. It has a slight hint of truth, exaggerated, and it hurt. And we had another topic for today, but we're just going to dive into Father's Day and talk about Danny's experience, my experience. I woke up to a wonderful text from my son today, and I'm going to just read it word for word, and you're going to see. And then we're just going to talk about it. And our intention always is that you see yourself inside our conversations. But most important, not only you see inside our conversation, you can relate, but you see God the Father in it. And you get to say, wow, that's how God shows up for you guys. Can he show up like that for me? And that's always our goal and intention, that you get see yourself inside our conversation, and most important, see Christ in it and God's faithfulness. Okay. So with this, we're going to do some brief introductions. We assume, because we're do this every week, but that you know who we are, but we're just gonna give yourself a brief introduction of ourselves in case it's your first time seeing us. And then we're just going to dive right into being a father, what Father Day means or meant to us, and how it's transformed us. So Danny, why don't you introduce yourself first? I'll introduce myself, and I'm going to ask you some questions about your Father's Day.
Yeah, I'm Danny. I'm a father of two. I have an 18-year-old and a 12-year-old son. Been married for, like 19 years now, 18, 19 years. Had my son when I was about 17 years old. I ended up going to dental school, going to school with my son there, being married, and then being a practice owner after that. After a couple of years of practice, I eventually became a leadership coach after I realized what leadership training did for me in my life and how many men were out there. Dentists needed that same level of leadership to lead their teams and family. So I've been doing that for a couple of years.
Awesome. More important, Danny, you've been leading as a coach, but you've been submitting yourself under extreme scrutiny, extreme pressure to become the coach you are for at least 5 years. I mean, you put some serious work into it, and that qualifies you to lead other men, in my experience. And other men will testify that you've led. So just want to throw that in there. Sebastian Wynn. I know my last name does not look like W-I-N. That's how you pronounce it as a winner, Wynn. It's spelled H-U-Y-N-H. So if you don't like it, talk to the Vietnamese community. It's not my fault. That is one of the weirdest way to pronounce the name, but that's how you pronounce it. Sebastian Wynn. Married 30 years this July. This July, 30 years. And it's a miracle. No one in my family has ever been married that long, and everyone pretty much is divorced. I think my youngest sister is the only one not divorced. Let me see. 30 years married, 4 children, 3 boys, then a girl. Caleb is 26, Joshua's 25, Seth is 23, Selah is 15, going on 50. I think she knows everything. Hope she doesn't watch this. Let's see. What else? I was, pastor, then became a business and life coach after that for last at least Caleb's 25, 26, let's see, last at least 23 years since Seth was born. So that's how I remember things, kids' age and milestones like that. And main thing, Danny sent me a great Father's Day text, actually made me cry. And main thing, the reason I do what I do is because what was missing. And I didn't have a father mentor and lead me, and that was missing in my life. And because of that, I don't want any men to suffer in that way. I would love men, we're going to suffer, but let's not have to suffer what wasn't supposed to be suffered. God called us to make disciples, and as we make disciples, we pass down and teach them. And the Bible says, teach the children in ways should grow, so when they get older, they won't depart from it. His words, his way, his wisdom. And that wasn't there for me. So I had to learn everything on my own, make a million mistakes. And I was like, why do we have to make all these mistakes? No, we will make mistakes, but not some stupid ones that'll cost us relationships, money, time, and stuff. So that's why I do this personally, because second, I don't know what else to do. I have nothing else that gives me life like what we do. You know, as we're preparing Danny for the Forge experience, which we won't have a name for yet, but we got to talk about because it makes sense right now. Danny took a stand. This is how crazy we are. We have a Forge training come up August 22nd.
It was 22nd through 25th.
Weekend.
Yeah, 24th.
And
yeah.
We're about to promote for it. And Danny calls me and goes, hey, I already got a date and I put down on this training. And I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's on my heart. And my son is spurring it. And let's do it. I go, okay, tell me more. He goes, that's it. Okay, let's do it. And that's evolving to men's training. So let's just talk about, I'm sorry, I apologize, not men's training. The father-son training.
Father-son.
We have never done this. And tell me more how it just sparked. Dang, let's just go there first. How did that spark? Because it's in context of Father's Day.
Yeah. So that training, we have the Forge training coming up on August 22nd. The training that I took a stand for with my son is going to be in July. I want to say it's around the same time, like July 22nd or something, 23rd. Don't know until I look at the schedule.
July 24th through 26th.
24th, yeah, 24th through the 22nd.
26th.
And how that kind of
26.
26. And we will put those dates somewhere.
Yes, yeah.
Where that kind of came about too was my son just graduated high school. He's in his, the summer post graduation. He's been working on his business. Him and I have been working on his business and things like that. And he was just telling me, I mean, there was just multiple instances up until that point, but a lot of his friends come over. I'm around a lot of 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds who just graduated. And kept getting this resounding like message. And these kids are coming out they don't really know what to do with their life. They're coming over very, very confused about their future. You're young, but a lot of them are jumping into life, maybe college, maybe something else, because it's just the next step. It was just what their parents are telling them to do. It's just the expectations that they're doing. But a lot of them are just like, this is really not what I want in my life. I really do not want to do this. Or they have something else in their heart and they're like, I can't do this without doing this. And there's this gap between what the parents are telling them they have to do versus what's in their heart, what their temperament is like, what they want to create out of their life. And a lot of them are just like, my parents are telling me to do this thing because they're doing it, but that's not what I want for myself. And I don't want to be like my dad's life. I don't want like this way. And so we have a lot of these conversations at my house, and my son's stepping into the world of dating, creating business. His friends, some of them are studying business while going to school. Great. I woke up one morning and I just had this clear kind of like clarity of this vision basically of training, and my son's there, his friends are there, and some of their dads are there too. And I was just like, that would be so amazing if we had this training where these boys, these young men are prepared and had some of the tools that I just wish I had 20, 30 years ago. That way I can make better decisions. I can get what I want faster. I'm not as stressed out and things like that. And I know what's coming on the other side of this thing called life post high school. And so with that, I was like, I really want this time to work with my son's business. And I was like, man, I'm about to give my son all these tools. I mean, we're about to spend like a whole weekend. I'm giving him all these tools, ripping into his business, ripping into his life, ripping into what life is going to look like in 12 months. I was like, why don't I just open this up to his friends as well? Why don't I open up this to other young men who need these tools stepping into college? I mean, regardless if you go to college or not, like the tools that he's going to get is going to be freaking like, it's going to be change their lives for the most part. So ahead of everyone, even in college. And so that spurred that conversation with Jaden, really, my oldest son. And I said, hey, would you be open to, working on the weekends, the whole weekend, just destroying your business, setting yourself up, learning the tools to get what you want faster. And his goal was like, hey, Dad, I want to start my business. I want to hit this revenue. I want to have a down payment for a house, my first rental home by the end of 12 months, blah, blah. I want to create these steps and things like that. And so he was like, yeah, I mean, let's do it. I want to do this. Can I invite my friends too? And I was like, man, I was just about to ask you, if you want to ask your friends. And he's like, yeah, I would. I want to ask my buddies. I want to ask my friends because I see where they're at. And man, they don't have any of the tools that you've just given me up until now with the years that you've been putting in. And he said, I would love to do that. I would love to create memories with them too. And so we were like, all right, let's do it. And I said, but son, if we're going to do this and we make a stand, you're going to have to throw in some money. You have to invest in yourself. So you got to pay for a portion like anybody else who goes through the training. I was like, you got to pay for it too, And so he's like, yep, you got it. So he zellied me money for the training before I set anything up.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. Yeah, so we didn't get an Airbnb or anything yet. We didn't set up the dates. I was just like, hey, we're going to do the training. You committed? He's like, yes. I was like, put money down. Know that you're committed to following through this. So he sent it over. He didn't know what the training is going to be about. He didn't know when the dates were going to be. But he's like, this is my life. Why would I not invest in my life, So he put money in. We got the Airbnb. He helped me kind of choose it a little bit and things like that. So it was super fun.
Well, let me pause there and tell guys, earlier when we opened up, I told you Danny's qualified to be a leadership coach because he's been invested and he's paid the dues since day one over 5 years ago. He's paid for all his trainings, invested himself. He knows what the reciprocation of investing in yourself looks like. And for years, as we start beginning to partner, Danny and I, he would still pay for his coaching. Then finally it hit me one day, I go, hey, you're my partner now. You're not my client. Even though I would still give you everything I have, stop paying me. But he never questioned him paying for his development. And that's why he could lead his son that way. It's overflowing from what Danny has done in his life. So man, I just want to pause right there and say, there's some things you want to teach your son and you want to invest in your son, but you can't do it. You don't feel the confidence. You don't feel the grit. You don't feel the power. Consider that's because you haven't done it in your life. It's still theoretical in your head. You watch Danny and I talk, he talks from a context of experience, failure, going again, over and over again. How many videos, if you watch Danny share, when he just made his son pay to go to my son's wedding. They're in Dallas, fly to California. He'll take care of the housing stuff because if you're going to be a blessing, you need to invest and pay to be a blessing for Caleb. And his son showed up at Curry's wedding. If you haven't seen that episode, go backwards. Listen, his son just graduated. He's 18. He made his son pay to go to a family's wedding. It was crazy. But I want to interrupt and tell you that's because Danny has been doing that for years in his own life. So he could demand that, guide and lead his son with full authority. And so if there's something in your life that you really want your children to do and there's just uncertainty in you, consider you have to live it for a season first. And that season might be 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, but live it out first. That confidence, that experience is what we can make disciples with. It's not just theoretical. There's tons of junk we've read. It doesn't matter. Tons of junk that is put out there that's even told to do on a Sunday. You can't do it. Why? You can't give it away. Why? Because you haven't lived it out. And you know the Bible already says this. It's not how much you know, it's how much you do. Because once you do it, that's where the power and the confidence comes out to give it away. What do you think about that, Danny?
Yeah, I would just say just because he's seen me invest in myself as well and how I live it out regularly. I talk about marketing. I talk about investing in team members. I invest in training for myself. I talk about how when I coach others, even though I want to do it for free, even though I want to give them everything, I was like, and I still can't because then they won't put in the time, energy to get what they want. There has to be some kind of something to hold them accountable for it. And so the money is it's not to make a whole bunch of money. It's really a tool in order to create accountability. So if you say what you want, but if they're not willing to put the word, their money where their mouth is, because when my son or when I have to invest in something, we have to say no to something else. And my son's 18 years old. He can use that money. He just got his gun license. He's so excited to buy his first gun. I mean, he's got so many things he can invest in. He's like, but the most important thing is I need to invest in myself in the season, especially if I'm not going to college. I got to keep investing in myself and learning skill sets, get experience and things like that. And he's seen me do it for years, and he's seen all his uncles do it for years. He's seen the people in our community talk about investing in themselves for years. So it's just a part of our language and a part of the way we think and operate too. And I can't get
Danny,
what I
is that
want.
selfish? Aren't you teaching your son how to be selfish? Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. Is that
Good. He
selfish?
needs to be selfish. He needs to be selfish in some level so that he can't breathe if he's only exhaling. Breathing requires inhaling and then exhaling, then exhaling. And but he needs to invest in himself to grow into the man that he wants to be, to live out and pursue the things he wants to pursue. And it's going to require resources. It's going to require time. It's going to require energy. It's going to require finances. And when he invested that in himself, it's going to be multiplied so he can give out to someone else.
That's
So
right.
yeah, he's got to do it, especially. And for me, it's like I always believed in investing in myself because another conversation comes up. We were talking about sons yesterday, dating yesterday, and I asked all my brothers because my son's about to go on a date. Hey, what would you do on your first date? Give this young men your do's and don'ts,
Wait,
and a
let's
lot
pause
of
real
them,
quick. What brothers for you? See,
my
his language is different because he's Vietnamese, Asian cultural
my
background.
actually blood brothers, like
Okay,
yeah,
sometimes when he says brother, those are his cousins, his
yeah,
neighbors, our community. So because it's powerful what you're about to share with me. Who are the brothers when you're talking about your brothers?
yes,
Biological?
my biological brothers, yeah, and anyways, so we're just asking them, hey, what would you recommend for a first date? What's your do's and don'ts? And my brothers have dated a couple girls, maybe here and there and things like that, but it was so hard for them to share what has worked for them. It's so hard. But since we've talked about investing in ourselves so we can even date better, so we can find the type of girl that it matches our vision in life. And it doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from these constant investment in ourselves, in our community, and getting more from men around us that I can give to my son too. And so it just
Let's
pours
pause.
on every
I want
part
to
of
break
life.
down. I want to break down the prince. There's two things come to my mind that you're saying that's very, very powerful. Okay, so you're saying your adult brothers, they're adults.
Hmm.
You ask them to, hey, give my son some dating advice. It's gonna be his first date, right? First date.
First date
What was
with a
the
girl
best
he
advice
likes.
they
Yeah.
gave him? What's the best advice they gave him?
Uh,
None, right? You told me
no,
they couldn't
it
give him
was,
advice.
yeah, it was just get to know her, like how the first conversation, get to know. I was
Okay,
like, oh man.
emotionally, as a father, these are your blood brothers.
Hmm.
These are your siblings. Adult. Are they married?
One of them's married. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one's not yet, right? And the best advice they give your son is get to know her.
Yeah, get to know her. Like get to know her. It's like, yes, he will get to know her, but practically, applicably, what does he need to watch out for? What's the don'ts? Like give him something that he can utilize for that date,
At least two or
But
three questions.
at least 2 or 3 questions. Yeah, something
Right?
like that. Very practical.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
So I want to pause there. There's two things you said that led up to this conversation that if we just turn off the mic now, men need to take these tools away. Remember, at the beginning, we said our only goal is not to ramble about our story, our life, but to give away tools where you see God the Father in our lives. And the first one you said is invest in yourself. And they'll hear it. And depending on the filter they receive it through, they're going to say, man, that's so selfish. Because this world has lied to us, especially if you're a Christian man, they have been lied even more. All the Christian community just give yourself away. Serve, 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 serve. And people burn out. People serve really crappy. I mean, their service is crap. And you can see here in a minute where service is crap, what it looks like. Because my son, Tex, will show you. He called me for Father's Day, then he realized that was fake service. That was obligation. That was bullshit. Then he gave me a real Father's Day gift. We'll get there. Don't let me forget that. But I wanted to interrupt you because people at least tell me it sounds selfish. And I go, damn straight it is. You don't think Jesus took time away in the morning and went be alone with the Father? We call that filling your cup. If you don't fill your cup, how are you going to pour into other people? Think about that. That's what we say when we're saying fill your cup. We're saying pour into your cup so it can fill and overflow onto other people. But if you don't invest in yourself and pour into your own cup, how are you going to overflow onto other people? Your cup is empty. And so that's principle number one. Guys, we will teach you. We do a thing called fire formula And we do it every morning. We have a modified version, a normal version. Like if you're traveling, we do a modified version, but we fill up our cup in our faith, fitness, family, finance, and fun in all 5 categories. Usually 4, 5 is an expression of the overflow of the 4, right? So we have a morning routine. Some Christian community call it devotional. That's kind of weak. That's just our faith. Then we do our fitness, family, and fun. Text us, DM us. We'll give you the full template, how to do it. And I'm telling you, when you fill up your cup, it sets the tone for us today. If you don't fill up your cup in the morning, you're working off yesterday's energy or whatever's left over in your cup. And it's not good. Every day you need to be filling up your cup. So that's the first principle Daniel was talking about, teaching his son is, hey, invest in yourself, fill up your cup. How are you exposed to be used by God? How do you expect to be used by God when you're not filling up your cup with his perspective, his presence, and his purpose? That's what we do in the morning. Then second principle, Daniel's talking about asking his brothers to give him advice. At least what I heard is saying his brothers, which were not trained, and my wife has to remind me often because I get frustrated at people. She goes, honey, they haven't been trained. Calm down. I get a little excited. And what I hear you saying, Dane, is your brothers haven't been taught how to set their table. And I'll give you a real simple example. Thanksgiving, my family, we will have roast duck, a whole crispy pig, baby pig. We'll have Asian platter. Then we'll also have turkey. Then we'll also have the American side food. It's a plethora. It's like a smorgasbord. And one time someone goes, Sebastian, that's not very Thanksgiving. I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, that's not American. Why are you having so much Asian food? You know, and all this stuff. I mean, we'll have noodles, egg rolls. I mean, you name it all, right? And I said, why are you telling me how to set my table? What's the purpose of Thanksgiving? It's being grateful for our freedom. Well, original Americans coming over and immigrating, right? I'm celebrating gratitude. Do you see my family? Black, white, Mexican, Asian. That's my family. Why are you telling me set my table the way you set your table? And then we'll get in this big conversation. They're just off automatic and routine. They're on automatic. They're eating crap. I will not eat that red cranberry out of a can. That's disgusting. Just because that's how everybody's done it. What I'm hearing you say, Danny, teach my son how to set his table. And they're like, I don't know. I've never set my own table. If you don't set your table, second thing you're going to do is eat crumbs off the table. That's disgusting. That's a leftover that nobody wants. It wasn't even good enough for me to pick up off the table and eat. It's called crumb. We just let it fall off the table. And usually, who eats the crumbs off table, Danny? What rodent animal is down there eating crumbs off table?
Usually, well, dogs will eat crumbs.
Yeah, your dog, my dog. So
Dog
listen,
loves my crumbs.
exactly. So here's the thing. If we don't set our table, we're eating crumbs off the table of life, off of circumstances. And that's exactly what they told your son to do. Just get over, eat the crumbs off the table of life. That's not leadership. That's bullshit. That makes me angry. That's the best your brothers could give your son. I don't want people like that around influencing my sons. That is horrible. That pisses me off. Not that they're bad people,
They're
but
not
we have
bad people.
created a generation like that. So I want to tell you guys, I was looking up while you're talking. I saw this a documentary that, and I forwarded it to you. Every man needs to watch. I just told a couple came over my house. Everybody needs to watch this because it should piss you off. Every Christian, we should have a movement against this because it's going against God's word. And it's called Inside the Manosphere. It just got put out. It's a Netflix documentary. You know, I watch things or listening to things while I'm working. And it was talking about the core debate here. It says, take the red pill philosophy, young men seeking guidance and confronting severe real world backlash as they try to normalize misogyny, homophobia, and extreme cultural views. And I'm crying while I'm watching this. I'm angry. I wanted to punch my monitor. And I was frustrated because these young men who are YouTube or TV influencers making millions of dollars influence other men, tell them how to be masculine men, are normalizing misogyny. Misogyny? Yeah. And they're called it one way, where they don't have to be committed, but their woman has to be committed. You know what they call their women? Hey, there's my dishwasher. They call the woman a dishwasher. They're trying to put all this masculine energy out. And you're a real man when you make money, drive a fancy car, and screw a lot of girls. And I was so angry. And I realized, because that's how I was taught. I accomplished it all, but I did it in a very negative way. And I left bodies behind, littered. And that's what we're fighting against every day. Dang, I can't wait till you watch. You watch how much on fire and how firm you are listening to God's voice, the Holy Spirit inside of you, that we're doing this father-son training. I mean, I'm so mad over it right now, just listening to it. And the guy did good. He didn't do great, in my opinion, as a documentary, because he only did a snippet at the end were these three men that he was highlighting, how they grew up fatherless.
Yeah.
And so they're just doing it on their own now, and they are influencing so many.
And they're
walk
going
down
to
the street.
the far extreme. There's so many, there's both
They
ends
have
of
to.
it.
They
Yeah.
have to go that extreme because there was no one pulling them back. Then my question is, no, there's a guy, they're walking down the street in Miami. These guys go, oh my God, you're so, oh my God, you're the greatest influence in my life. And I just start crying. That guy, what he believes in is the greatest influence. Where the F is the church? Where the F are the men of God making disciples? That this young man who's doing his best, but is lead him down to hell, literally lead him to hell. But you can see conviction all through their hearts when they're talking, that they know this isn't it. I was just praying for them over a documentary while I'm watching it, that, man, somebody just break through their heart and stuff. So I could go off on that, but the point is I wanted you to know that you're responding to a call that's a missing vacuum here in our society. And I want to wake up the heart of every Christian man to say you are created for more, to make a disciple, not to pay the bills. That's all bullshit. Not to just barely survive, have a hobby. As addicted I am to pickleball, I every day literally put it at the foot of the cross because I know I love it too. I mean, I'd ignore everything, play it all the time. It just gives me such an amazing high and I feel alive. But we weren't created for that. At the end of the day, God's not going to say, what was your duper score, Sebastian? How many people did you crush? How many tournaments did you win? Who gives a crap? He's going to ask me, how many disciples did you bring into my kingdom? I'm telling you, that's the end of the day. So tell me one thing. We're going to shift from the father and son thing, how it evolved from you leading your sons and their friends. And all of a sudden you're saying, hey, Sebastian, I got them and their sons coming, and it evolved into a father-son training. Tell me how that evolved.
Yeah. So it was initially Jaden's really excited about having his, he's like, I want to have this experience with my friends. I want them to get the tools too. They're about to leave for college. Let's set the date. And then I'm just thinking, I was like, man, it would be great because I lead a men's Kingsmen meeting on Saturday morning with a couple of men with their sons as well. And I go to Bible study. A buddy of mine, Jamie, who I've been discipling, leading as well. He started a Bible study. We have a lot of dads there with, kids as well, boys, things like that. And it just became this natural, like, man, a lot of these parents just don't know where they're at with their kids as well. They don't know even how to lead them in this next season of their life. Going to college, like they do the basic stuff, like, hey, go to college, stay out of trouble, that kind of thing. But I was like, these are like adults, like, and this might be one of those situations where they're not going to make a lot of memories and experiences with their sons after they go to college. They're going to have their own life. They're going to start creating on their own, and separate from them. And I was like, what would they need their dad or parents for? I was like, a lot of them just come out and do their own thing afterwards. But it kind of came out because I was like, man, I had this great conversation with my son while we were in California. I mean, we talked for like 2 hours in the hot tub for 2 days. So it was a total of like 4 hours on both of those days. We're like working out while talking. We're hot tubbing while talking. And I was just like, man, dads are just missing out on this great experience about where their kids are at, hearing their voices, just because they are telling, they just don't know what even to ask. You know what I mean? They don't know how that relationship with their sons. I said, wouldn't it be great if they got to have this experience? The boys are getting training and tools, and their parents are getting tools to speak into their life, to honor them, to guide them, to lead them. And I was like, let me invite the sons as well. I mean, the fathers as well. And Jaden was like, yeah, it'd be so great if their dads came. It just naturally flowed in that direction. And so I just was like, got so excited. I let a couple of the guys know, and they're like, I'm talking to my son today. I'm talking to my son, this weekend. And they're like, I wish they knew what I even got this last year or this last couple of months, and how that would change the trajectory of their marriages, the person they marry, their careers, their finances, whatever it is. And they're like, I do anything I can to get my son to go to this too. He's like, I want that, So that's pretty much how it came about and my son's dating too. And we're having conversations every day about, hey, did you set up frame for this? Like, what's your expectation? My son asked me yesterday, what do I need to look for in my long-term partner? Someone I marry, what qualities do they need to have? What are red flags for me? And I'm like, man, this would, what he's getting right now. I was like, man, other guys need to have this too. Like, these kids are walking in blind dating, So it was a lot of instances, but it was just man, I get so much being part of my son's life. My cup just overflows, just getting to be a part of his life. and flowing into him. And I
We
want
have to
other
pause
dads
to
to
make
have
sure
that.
everybody hears this. So what Danny's saying, if you are listening, because this is where most men say, I don't know how to disciple my son. I don't know how to disciple a friend. I don't know how to disciple anybody. Well, freaking listen. It's very simple. He spent 2 hours in a hot tub one day, 2 hours the next day. Then he spent time while he's working out. He's worked leading and modeling for his son. Discipleship is in proximity, not content. It's in proximity. Watch Jesus walk with the disciples. It's in proximity. Just do, model, work with them. We meet every week on the phone with our men as a group on Zoom. We meet every week, one-on-one calls. We're constantly in proximity. Those that are in the highest level of our coaching, I'm about to leave again to go on site with them for 3 days, to walk with them, not only about their business, their personal life. I know their wife, their children. That is proximity. One of my clients, I just said, hey, let's set our date where I am going to come see you for 3 days. Your business, he's about to transition, move one condo to another. And I wanted to see him during that time because those are the hardest time for people's transition. And he was like, oh man. And that accountability alone right there will set him up for before the month I come and see him. It's proximity that we make disciples. So just listen closely. He's giving you so many golden nuggets of wisdom. It's not lecturing, like coming back and checking in. It's walking with and doing with. That's amazing. That is amazing. So I want to tell you a funny thing, because when we update you on this, you're going to laugh your butt off. Danny told me, hey, we already got the Airbnb. Where's it in? Mineral Wells?
Mineral Wells,
Texas,
Texas.
right?
15
And
acres.
he
I'm so
sent me,
excited.
He sent me a whatchamacallit, a Airbnb invite. I go, 8 people? There's no way. That means 4 couples, 4 father and sons, and he's going to be one of them. And I was like, who's going to help me train? Guess who I was thinking of? Come help me train. Do you know? Have you thought? Caleb.
Caleb.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
get Caleb. So Caleb was in high school. He went with me to Australia for 3 weeks as we did a 2-week training on a whole group. And then he was 18 at that time. He was your son's age, 18. And first time in my life, I said, instead, after this training, there's like 40 people in there. After this training, you get to select your coach. Whoever showed up in the room for you the most. I brought 5 people from America. I think it was 5. Something like that. 4 or 5 people from America. Oh no, I brought 4 people from America. Then they had 2 from Australia. It was my coaches I've been discipling. So there's like 6 people to choose from. Caleb was the youngest one. And guess what? He had the most people check the box his name to coach him. And these were some adults too. I'm talking about adults asking him to coach them. That's the guy I want to bring, father and son. Help me lead you guys, father and son. Wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that be crazy?
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So
He's just newly married too, so he's kind of like exactly where they want to be in the next couple of years. You know, a couple of
value would
steps.
be for those young men.
Yeah.
Yeah. So crazy. So let's get focused. Make sure we give them all gifts. My head's going everywhere. There's so much. So I want to transition from that. Your obedience to the Holy Spirit. We don't know how we're going to make. If you guys are listening, we don't know what the hell we're doing. We're following God's leading, and then from leading that, we're just creating as we go and constantly having conversation with the Father. This Sunday, the guest pastor at the church I go to went. He said something like, "If you know what you're doing, then you're building Tower of Babel." I was like, crap. Think about it. They said, let us build. And they did what they knew how to do. And they tried to build a tower bigger than God and reach God so they'd be bigger than God. Think about that. If you have to know what you're doing, consider you're building the Tower of Babel. Or if you don't know what you're doing, welcome to the family that follows Jesus. And they just, man, look at those disciples. They were messy and following him every day. Where do you want us to go? And you just listen to his voice. Come follow me. Come follow me. And Danny responded, we have a date on the calendar. We have no idea. Of course, we have a training, but we never made it father and son. So we have to adapt it and contextualize it. And it's amazing. So at first it said 8. Then he opened up the Airbnb to 12. No, just letting them know guests. Because how many rooms they have? 6?
6. So
6.
4 rooms, 4 rooms,
Yeah.
there's 5
I
rooms.
said, what about the trainer, me, and whoever I bring, my son or whatever, right?
So we'll figure it out.
And then we'll figure out. We're talking about bringing an RV and just park it inside there. But I'm going to tell you, we're going to fill that thing out in a heartbeat. And then if you're watching, you want to be a part of it, text us, DM us, or however you communicate through this. And then guess what's going to happen? We're going to have part 2, or it's going to overflow. We're going to have a bigger headache and have to get 2 RVs or whatever and just have all the men we have. But we'll have a cutoff date and all that. So if you're very interested, just know, contact us as we build this airplane. We're flying together. We're following Jesus. We are not building Tower of Babel. We're not doing this in our wisdom, our way. We really are. No, we do have pre-date training. We told you in August. That's not Tower of Babel. We're not building it. We're being a good steward. That's refined over tens of trainings he and I have done together on this context. So there's a balance. Don't think we just wing everything. We are good steward. That's first we bow. In this context, the Father's children, we never done for. We submit to God. Then we rise as a king, and he tells us what to do. Then we multiply because we have experience and we give it away. The Father and Son one, we bow and submitted to what he's doing in our life right now, especially Danny's. But the one we're doing in August, the Forge, we rise. We have a good steward. We've done that training, and we're giving that away in a different context. I just want to be very clear and distinct. You don't just wing it when you follow God. There's stages of your relationship with God, and based on those stages, that's how you step up, right? And there are times you just build an airplane while you're flying it. There's other time you have a badass jet that's soaring, and we put in the work for that. So just want to be very clear before we move forward, because I get excited, and at times I might not share everything clearly. So with that said, I'm going to transition to Father's Day, okay? And I have tons of notes, but I want to start off with one question, okay? Here's the Father's Day transition question. What does Father's Day mean to you today that didn't mean to you when you first became a dad?
When I first became a dad, I was only 18 years old when my son was like born. And during that time, Father's Day meant like provision. Most of all, provision, survival. Not only his survival, but my survival too. Our young marriage's survival. But a lot of it was just like, I need to make sure he has the resources that he needs to live, whatever that looks like. If it looks like me taking a job while going to school, it's a second job, whatever it took. That's what we're just going to do. And the first 5 years was very similar to that. And it was a lot of just like taking care, creating memories, like, making sure he eats. And it's just kind of the routine part of raising a child. Now it's much different that my son's 18, turning 19 or so, because now it's not making sure that he survives, making sure that he's well-disciplined, making sure he knows expectations and things like that. Now it's like, now how do I get him to have the tools to make his own decisions, to create on his own, to be able to have boundaries, to have frameworks for his life and tools in his life that he can leverage to create the life that God has in store for him. I don't know what God has in store for him, but I know principles that he needs to have in order to be, so that God can flow through him and do whatever work he needs him to do. And a lot of that's like, hey, build him more confidence, yes. But for him, it's a lot of boundaries, how to manage his time, money, and resources, how to manage his relationships, how to give it away for people. So it's a lot different now because it's not me telling him. It's not me doing it for him. It's me giving him the space and guidance for him to take bigger risks that requires him to grow all of these things.
Let me pause you there because I have a couple more questions. But first thing I heard you, first thing is survival. First stage. Now that your son's 18, it's imparting wisdom, imparting experience. And I love that when you say create space. I want you guys to know, because we use a lot of coaching language that we teach people. Creating space means giving room to make mistakes. Man, if you're listening, there's going to be some women watching, and you want to forward this to your husband, your boyfriend, your brother, even your own father. Listen, creating space is not just giving them room to learn these principles. Give them room to fail. Give him room to give him the skeleton, then he can put his own flesh on it, his own experience, his own way, not to be a robot and follow exactly. There was a client that we had that wanted to be in our coaching program, and I failed because it pissed me off that he interpreted this. But if you go to one of our trainings, we always invite you back to be a coach of that exact same training because you already had the experience. But we show you what's behind the scenes, how to build it, because it gives you different character. And everybody has been a coach, says they got more out being a coach than attending because they're not on the hot seat now. Well, what they don't realize, the reason they got more out of it, because one, they went through the crucible, they went through the refiner's fire first. Now they're not on fire. They're not getting beat up by a mallet and being shaped. They're seeing how to shape the men. And they're like, wow. And they apply that into their business. They apply that in their family, every aspect of their life, right? Giving people space is giving the room to screw up. So listen, when Danny says he gives his son, he gives him instructions and wisdom, but then gives him space, he's giving the room for him to take that and make it his own wisdom through failure. Look how many times Jesus gave his disciples room to make mistakes. It's horrible. They're always interpreted in their cultural context. They didn't understand the Spirit's leading until he revealed it to them. He says, you're hearing these stories in man's ear. Let me tell you what it really means. He breaks it down for them. So thank you for that. I'm going to give you my answer real quick here. What does Father's Day mean to you today that didn't mean when you first became a dad? I love that you and I live in a different world right now. Danny, your son's 18, still at home. We're basically empty nesters. All the boys are gone. Sayla lives with us part-time. The other time she's a teenager doing all this other stuff. But plus her temperament is like, she's the most independent child we had. And she doesn't want us to do anything for her. I mean, I told you, she's 15 going 50. So Father's Day when first came for me, it wasn't even providing. You're a very good and generous father. It was about me. Me. Father's about me getting my car. Father's me being acknowledged. Father's me bragging about my kids. Father's about me. Remember, we had 3 boys within 3 years, basically. 3 boys within 4 years. It was crazy because Caleb was born, then Joshua was born in the next year. After Joshua, 2 years later was Seth. So everything's about me. You know, look at me and look at my kids, me. And I'm being very transparent. I didn't know what Father's was about. I just knew that I need to be celebrated. Let's make everything about me. Now, 30 years being married, kids are out of the house. Donna said, what do you want to do this Father's Day? And my first initial reaction is there's a place in Buena Vista here in Colorado that I love going camping at. I love that town because you get best of both worlds in the same spot. We could go overland camping for 2 days and just roughing it. Then we go in town, get a nice hotel, which is 5 minutes, 10 minutes away. Enjoy the best food, best scenery, best everything. I mean, get this dual standard. And that was my initial thought. Then I looked up online. There's this water lantern festival coming up exact same weekend. I was like, damn it. That doesn't sound like a Father's Day thing. That's more like a date, Valentine's thing, right? And I said, you know what? That's what I want for this Father's Day. I want to celebrate my wife. I want to thank her for giving me the children she has. I want to connect with her on a deeper level. And it was amazing. And then that was Saturday night. Then Sunday, she always cooks me exactly anything I want, right? I said, you know what? I want Japanese yakitori. And I want to bless my buddy and his family. And I brought them over. My son came. And I spent 3 hours preparing. Have you ever done yakitori, cutting up the vegetables, buying it? Don and I did that together. Such a great experience preparing. They came late. We prepared the food. We served them. And it was crazy. This Father's Day for me was more about my cup overflowing. I didn't need my cup being filled anymore. I'm overflowing. And Donna and I, at the end of the night, she goes, how was your Father's Day weekend? I go, probably the best ever. It was amazing. It was so amazing. Spending time with you and thoughts and questions we talked about at the water lantern. Next day, more revelations came out. I shared more with her about the questions and conversation we had. And then just serving my friends and having that space and giving them first time experience of yakitori. They never had yakitori. They didn't even know what it was and what it meant. And we just had a great time. And spontaneously, my friend said him and his daughter wanted to play pickleball, Seth and I. And it was on like Donkey Kong. We went crazy, came back, had a lot of fun. And as we cleaned up and ended the night, I was like, man, what a different stage I am in. I don't have to have my cup filled anymore. I was overflowing onto other people and to my wife and my friends' family and all that and blessing us Father's Day. Church was amazing. He didn't give a Father's Day message, but he gave a Father's Day's message on God's presence, his power, proximity. I mean, that's what I took out of it. So Father has changed so much for me since the beginning. Let me ask you this question. What kind of man do you hope your children describe you when you're gone?
When I'm gone?
Yep.
I want them to describe me as someone who lived not just in, that he was just just so surrendered that, I mean, they were like, I want them to say, man, dad did crazy shit that I had no idea why, but he always did it because he was so committed to creating disciples. He was so committed to giving it away. I want them to, whenever I'm gone, say, I just remember dad just always giving it away to someone. Always overflowing to someone. I want them to say, hey, he was the wisest person that I know growing up, that he was always, fully present for me in every stage of my life. And he was just like the greatest husband that I can think of. I want them to say these things about me, that he was just really a faithful son of God. But he lived it out daily. That he lived it out crazy, like wild, and like he was not playing safe in his life. He was living boldly, and that's how I want my sons to live their life.
Awesome. Yeah, so I love it because I'm 55 now and you're what, 36, 7?
36, turning 37.
36, right? When you turn 37?
October this year.
Mother, daughter, that's
I
happened
know.
so fast, right? Mine's very simple. I went, my son said, he loved Jesus. Done. That's it. That's all I have to say. I mean, every day, that's the hardest thing for me. Everything in this world gets in the way for me loving Jesus, submitting to Jesus. That's so hard. I don't care anything else they say. If they just said, Dad, I love Jesus so much, I just want that to overflow onto them. What does that mean? In everything he did is Jesus first. He didn't compromise. And me and my wife, we get in arguments all the time because she grew up different, and given we were pastors, missionaries, we did a whole bunch, and there's this big rebellion against organized church and religion, and I get it. And we got crucified in a church plant, got turned on, all kinds of stuff. She has bitter taste in her mouth, and the way she grew up too, very religious. So sometimes we get an argument about this. That's the world's way. Like, definition of what is family. It's not just biological. Jesus says, they say, hey, Jesus, your mother, father, your mother and brother are outside. He goes, hey, let's pause for a minute. Teachable moment. I just love how Jesus does this, Danny. You watch this and you gotta laugh how funny Jesus is. He's very comical a lot of times. Just read it in context. And he says, let me ask you a question. Who is my mother, father, brothers, and sisters? And they're like, what? What the hell are you talking about? Can we just let your parents in? The crowds are all in here crushed in. Everybody's listening to you. Your mom and your sister and your brothers don't have any room to come in and all this. Why is this a teaching lesson time? What the heck? Get on the podium. It's like a Sunday stage. Go preach and teach and just calm down, homie. And he goes, hey, who are my father, brother, mother, sister? But those who the will of the Father. And my wife loves her sisters. And she was taught in our Asian culture, families first and all this. And we even teach that biblically, families first. But at the end of the day, biological means nothing. Eternal means everything. And if we focus more internal, maybe we'd be a better witness to our biological. Half my family, if not more, are not saved. But I don't lecture and preach at them. I live out my life and make them so curious they have to ask. But the point is, at the end of the day, my boys just say Jesus. He made Jesus first. He's so in love with Jesus. I don't know what that means, but he always made Jesus first. Biological family meant nothing, but who are his brother, father? Those who do the will of the Father, So Donna asked me that in one of our questions. Who's your closest friend that you share everything with? I go, Danny. She goes, you share with him even about us and more than me? I go, most time. Because there's things I can't share with you as my wife, And she was a little jealous, man. I was like, But I do it Jesus first, Jesus way. Hey, I got a couple more questions for us, and we're going to wrap this up. Many men chase success. When did you realize success alone wasn't enough being a father?
When I wasn't even having a relationship with my son, about 5 years ago, I was a year into my business. I hit a lot of amazing financial markers, the world's way of success, I had the income, I could have created the time. I could have gone anywhere, bought anything, all of this stuff. I had reputation because, you're a doctor and, I beat the odds. I got married when I had my son when I was 17, 18, got married 18 years old, supposed to be a blue collar worker with nothing wrong with that. But I was supposed to not go finish school. And a lot of people told me not to. And so I had all these things that I measured myself off of based off of the world said was to measure off of. And I have a beautiful wife. She's a hottie, you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, what's not to celebrate about for that success? But in the end of the day, I didn't have intimacy with my boys. My boys, my son didn't care if I was home or not. He didn't have a relationship. He didn't want to be around me. And I probably didn't want to be around him either. It's like, God, how much needs do you have? And so when I realized my marriage wasn't where I wanted to be, I didn't want that. I wanted more out of my marriage. I wanted more out of my life. I wanted purpose in my life greater than what this world was telling me was important. So when I realized this was not fulfilling, all the measurabilities that the world was telling me was important was so empty. And when I experienced that emptiness, that's for me, I was like, that's not success for me.
Yes, that's awesome. So I want to just remind those who are listening right now, there is nothing wrong with providing. Actually, we always believe in both and they overlap, right? Sometimes this is more than this, so it just overlaps a little, sometimes overlap more, but we're not saying either or. It can sound like that sometimes. You have to provide as a father. He had to go to school. He had to work hard. He had to open up his business. Those things are called just stewardship of what God's given you. You have to do those things. We're not saying don't do those things. We don't want you to feel crap because you're doing it. But when there's a calling and there's a longing in your heart that's calling you to something greater and more, and that's providing and intimacy and connecting with your children and your spouse. It's not either or, it's both and. So just hear that. For me, I remember a specific time. My sons are telling me this is, okay, the question, let me just make sure you hear the question again. Many men chase success. When did you realize success alone wasn't enough? My boys I'm a late learner. I'm not as smart as you, Danny. I'm listening to you. I'm like, damn it, if I knew that at 36. But so I learned this after, when was this? After they got into college-ish, right? So let's just frame it around that time. And we were talking about them growing up one day, and they said, I don't know how we got on this topic, but they said, well, yeah, Dad, you were moody. Like, what are you talking about? We used to walk on eggshells around you. I go, what? I mean, they blew my mind. I'm being very vulnerable, transparent.
I think I asked them that question. I think that you were sitting there.
Is that when it happened? Oh my God,
Yeah.
they blew my mind. And they said, yeah, when we heard the car pull up, we'd all leave the living room. They're all together. Yeah. They're all hanging out together, having great fellowship, living life, enjoying life. Then they hear the car. Everybody ran to the rooms, grabbed out their books, and started acting like they're doing homework.
Acting like they're studying.
Yeah. And I thought, hell, I walked
I think
home,
Joshua told us
home.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, damn, look how good my kids are. They're doing work and all. Come here, give your dad a hug. And they'd come give me hugs and stuff. But they didn't do it because everything was great. They didn't know what mood I'd come home in. Living in Orange County, one income, working my butt off, that time on a pastor's salary. That's after we just started the coaching business and all that. I didn't realize how depleted my cup was. I had nothing to give.
I'll add on to, he said, yeah, and he would like pull us in his office, and I was like 11 years old, and he was like, what are you guys doing with your life? And they were like, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm doing here.
Oh man, I messed up so much. When you share, I'm like, thank you, Jesus, for my paycheck. I didn't do anything. I get to see Danny do it now through his son. I'm like, praise God. This is like crazy. But yeah, success, I think the definition changes as we mature and different seasons of life we're in. But we definitely have to provide financially. Then there's God's grace allowing us to still have the opportunity to connect relationally. And I think this next season I'm in is giving it away through others making disciples. And that's the third stage: bow, rise, and multiply. And for me, man, we just multiply what we're doing, Danny, and that's why we're doing this. I want to stand before the Father and him say, I'm proud of you, son. And that's the only target I have. So a couple more questions and we're going to close this out. Consumer versus contributor. What's the difference between raising consumers and raising contributors?
First, I had consumers as kids for in the first part of their lives, and even in the second part of their life transitioning. And it sucks. It sucks really because, man, it's just, no matter what you do as well, it's just always about me. It's all about what I can get. It's all about what benefits me. It's just not raising consumers. It just enables them to just be crippled adults, and they don't actually become adults. They just become bigger children. You hear all the time, like I have people I met, patients, team members that I hire that have just never grew out of me, consumer, about what I can get from this world, what I can consume more, what else I can eat, where else I can go just for my pleasures. And it's just this never ending, there's satiation or like appetite. And so for me, raising contributors is always about building them up, but it's intentional for building them up. It's not building them up like they're starting a career. Like my son is going to go into videography business and things like that. And even as I prepared them to be a contributor, it's not about, hey, you need to do this to have this much money so you can finally buy this house so you can go and eat the best food. It's like, no, son, as you get these tool sets, as you grow in your career, as you build up your business, you get to make an impact for the kingdom. You get to influence other people. You get to encourage other people. The more you grow, the more you can give back to your friends as well. And so it's a consumption for it intentionally, knowing that you're going to give it away, versus consumption just so I can grow my appetite more and get more for me and get more out of my life and take what's mine. And it's not becoming a person of value in this world. Yesterday, my son and I were creating a framework like, hey, this is the type of woman. He was creating his non-negotiable for a woman. He wants someone who's, honest, faithful, has resilience, is just, positive, like a faith woman with a faith foundation. And I was like, great. So who do you need to be? And so he's writing down all he needs to be. At the end of it, he said, I need to be a leader. I need to be someone who's willing to serve and give away. I need to be someone who is a contributor in this world, blah, blah, blah. And so it was, hey, you want the best out of the world, be willing to give your very best to the world. And it just framed it up that there's intention behind what we're creating, and it's not just for my little pleasures and my little world, my little kingdom to say I have it. And he has buddies who are making a little bit of money now, and they just put other people down. They just don't know about it. It's like, hey, where's your money? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you buying these things? And he's just like, I don't want to do that. Like, if I'm going to build a business, I want to make sure that my buddy next to me is building a business too. I want to make sure that we're sharing this and then we're growing together and things like that. And he wants to be someone who's living out his faith and being something that's building the kingdom versus just consuming a kingdom.
That's so awesome. I could talk about this subject for years, so I won't. And we're going to move to the next question. This is next and last questions. Then we're going to tell them about the challenge. It's done, where will be done by this week, and then like the link to training. This question I think is probably the seal the deal question, meaning on this Father's Day. How can fathers model repentance and humility rather than perfection? How can fathers model repentance and humility rather than perfection?
Yeah. One thing that comes up for me is this past Mother's Day, this past weekend, my son's getting his first gun. He saved up for a gun. He got his license to carry. We're in Texas, so every baby's born with a gun almost. But we were like, hey, we're going to do this. You can have it in my house. This is what it looks like. You have a lockbox, blah, blah, blah. Set up a standard for him. And I said, but we need to go talk to your mom about this too, And so, he brings it up to his mom. He chose not a super great time, which was right after dinner. He didn't have time to prepare. I didn't have time to prepare. And my wife goes into, like, what if this happens? That happens. No, you can't do this. You needed 2 years of this. And I mean, she was, getting really anxious about it. To her, it's scary and things like that. And I'm sitting there, I'm kind of losing my patience a little bit. I'm like, wait, so you're telling me that he needs to do all of this and then you can eventually trust him? And I was like, so you're setting him up to fail. Like, how's that going to work? He's not perfect. He's going to mess up. But do we have framework for what works for our house? Well, who cares of what he does outside? If he shoots someone outside, then what? He's going to go to jail. It's like, then that's his life. He has to go to jail. But she was just getting very riled up. And I kind of lost my patience. And my wife goes, I'm talking to him. He was like, you're right. You're talking to him. And so at the end of it, they talk it. I try to guide the conversation here and there. And afterwards, she was like, you just really you really shut me down in front of him. And, that's not cool, blah, blah. It's not respectful. And I was like, you're right. You know what I mean? I could have been a lot more patient, And so I listened to her. But then I go back to my son afterwards. And I was like, hey, when I spoke with Mom, I was losing my patience. I was very impatient towards her. Wow. I was very frustrated by her questions and things like that. But how she was setting, I was just very frustrated. And that really bled to how we had that conversation, how I treated her. And he was like, yeah, Dad, you can't be she just needed to be heard. You couldn't be more patient. You're absolutely right. I could have been more patient. I just lose my shit when, when people treat them really small. I just get really riled up about it. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is, how do I teach him to be, your question was to be have humility, humbleness, and
repentance and humility. Rather than perfection.
Without perfection. It for me is constantly looping him in the challenges that I'm personally having. My son, when my wife and have conflict, I'll say, hey, son, I know you said you should never sleep on the couch, but no, I tell him, like, son, I'm going to be on the couch for the next couple of days. Mom and I are not seeing eye to eye on this. She's pissing me off. I'll give you the updates. This is where we're at with it. And so I talked to him very vulnerably about, I'm still growing, and I'm still growing as a husband. I'm still growing to lead Mom. I'm still growing as a leader too. And so he gets to see me be in the process of being messy in my own life, but I don't hide it. I said, we're all messed up, and that's why we need Jesus. That's why I need Jesus every single day, because always sleep on the couch then, So, and he gets to see me mess things up, and then he sees me how to clean it up afterwards. But I'm doing it God's way, and he gets to see following God is not easy. I have to die to myself. I have to die to my selfishness, my own flesh. But he gets to see how I submit to God's way and what his biblical principles led me to make the decisions and how to clean it up as well. So I keep it. I'm communicating constantly with my own life mess ups and how I'm cleaning it up.
Man, you don't even understand what that's going to do to your son, because most people don't take action because they want perfection first. They want to know what it looks like from A all the way to Z, how the outcomes can be before they even take action. They want to build the Tower of Babel, right? Have it their way. You follow God, you don't even know what Z looks like. This is to make disciples, but the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, holy crap, that is invisible. A, you don't even see B until you get to B, then C and D might be revealed. You get C and D, then maybe you get E, but you might not get F, G, A. It's not a formula, it's a relationship. And I love what you're saying is you're constantly having conversation, you're constantly revealing to him, and that takes such humility. You fake it and lie and hide, and they know, kids know. I was with a client on a call the other day, and they were going at it. It turned from a coaching session to a couple session, and the kids were coming in the room 5 times at least because they could hear the yelling. It was intense, right? And they kept on trying to hide it. Like you need to go tell them right now. You're on a coaching call. Things aren't working out. They need to stay out. So anyways, you're not hiding it. That's what I'm saying. So great job. I want to close with this to answer this question. How can fathers model repentance, humility, rather than perfection? I love your perspective, and I'm going to give you mine. So last night, my son called me and wished me Father's Day. My second son, Joshua. Man, this is not big enough for me to read. That's how bad my eyes are. I even got the screen big. I'm going to do my best. But we just had guests over, end of the night. He just came back from a wedding in Arizona, going back to California. He's tired, but he felt like he needed to call me, tell me Happy Father's Day. I knew it was bullshit. It wasn't sincere. It was mechanical. And so we bullshit for a couple of minutes, and I shut down and said, hey, son, go get some rest. I'm going to finish cleaning up. I appreciate you thinking about me and calling me. Where my daughter, now listen, the 15-year-old, she's off in Denver at a cheer camp. I haven't seen her all weekend. She calls me Saturday night, say, hey, Dad, we be up in the morning. Can I call you in the morning to wish you Happy Father's Day? Hell yeah, you can, girl. So proud. And she is known everybody's birthday, Father's Day, Mother's Day, birthdays. She does this picture collage of our family. It's just her little thing. And she's known for that. And I was like, damn it, I'm not going to get my picture collage. She's at a camp, cheer camp and all that. She calls me exactly the time she said, because she woke up 10 minutes early from what she had for cheer camp. And she's laying in bed. Hey, Dad, happy birthday. Or happy Father's Day. And, and we're talking. It meant so much. Very intentional, very sincere. Things she said were funny as heck. I mean, you just tell she prepared her heart, right? Then I got the phone. I was like, I really want that picture collage. I look at my text message because it was like early in the morning, right? Oh, crap, she did make me one. I was all celebrating. It was really cool. It was funny what a father is. And it's just a joke on defining what a father is and all. It was totally me. It was so hilarious, right?
So I know who your favorite is what you're saying.
What?
I said, so I know who your favorite is.
Just slightly. But anyways, she put a lot of thought and effort into it. You could feel it, right? My son calls me. We had that talk, Joshua. Then we hang up. Didn't do crap for me. It really didn't. You could tell it was not there. But here's what I woke up to this morning, okay? This is what he wrote. He wrote 11 o'clock my time after we talked, like an hour after we talked at least. So he had some time. He says, I've had some time to actually sit down and think about Father's Day, and I wanted to let you know that you're a great dad. Throughout your 26 years of fatherhood, because he's 25, his older brother's 26, there has been a lot of ups and downs, but there has been one thing that has been consistent. You showed up and you fought for us. Even with a busy schedule and traveling when we were little, you always tried to show up for our basketball games. When family relationships were going south in high school, you fought and humbled yourself and what you knew to learn what fatherhood was and mend the relationships with us. You showed up and helped me move into my first apartment, helping me start my life on my own. You showed up for our birthdays. You fought for us to make money when we needed to buy a house in Colorado. You fought to make the money for me to go to Baylor for a year. Everywhere I look, you fought and showed up for us, for me. So thank you. I called you earlier out of obligation because that's what you're supposed to do on Father's Day. But now that I had time to sit and think, this is the Father's Day is about. It's reflecting and appreciating your father for the things he has done for you. So thank you for being a great example of selfless and hard work father that I hope for my future kids. What the fudge? Right? That is a great gift. And through my screw ups and everything, he saw that I'm not perfect. It hurt me to read the part that in high school our family's up and down. I was like, shit. I thought I did that really well. Just being exposed, like, damn it, I'm not perfect. But I think that if we can leave our men seeing that, I love that we have this generational gap where there's almost 20 years between you and I, where God gets to see where you're at with the kids. The men get to see with you and God where you're at with the kids. Me with the kids being out in different stage. We could talk to a wide range of men. But I think at the end of the day, men, the common factor Danny and I have is first, we submit. We bow to the king. So we could rise up and be the king of our kingdom, the steward and responsible for the end results of everything God gives us, taking 100% responsibility of the results we create, and then we get to influence other men and do that. So I want to show you something in closing because we just finished it. I spent all weekend, and I want to make sure the men know this is what we do and what we're inviting them into. We are giving it away, and we're inviting you into this. Where the Christmas is it? Right here. I was working all weekend with our guys. Look at this, Danny. Son of a biscuit.
Yeah.
This is our free 5-day challenge. Listen, this is not just a joke, guys. It's going to be over 90-something pages, 5 days. This is just day one, the 5-day challenge. Look at the symbolism. I want you guys to see this. To become the Kingsmen, you're over here by yourself, and you're being a consumer, and you join these men, become a contributor. Can you see that imagery? Single person consuming me. Contributor is let's go make disciples. Isn't that powerful? Look at this. This is, we put so much work into this, but I want them to see one more thing. There's table content, welcome, lies, mass, hunger, river, all this. But I want them to see one thing you said. This is what your wife and you were arguing over. You want your son to do, she want him to do more so he can have more responsibility. Then he become enough to hold the gun, have a gun. And that's a lie. That's work salvation. He cannot do more to have more and then become. You're treating him. He already is through Jesus Christ. Now, as a responsible young adult, what does he need to do to have that gun? What does he need to have? Trust and relationship, right? Because he's under her roof, your roof. But it starts off him being first. And so they'll learn that within this 5-day challenge too, from consumer to contributor. And I just wanted to share that. Let me turn this off and we'll close. Last words. You and I got to talk a lot. This is not only for them. This is for you and I, affirming Christ in our life, accountability that we're walking the path of following and chasing God's heart. Any last words? I want to give one, and then from there, you close it, okay? So if I could close this out and you said, hey, Sebastian, out of all of this Father's Day thing, what did you learn? What did you want to give away? And when we say give it away, guys, we're talking about we're learning, we're filling up our cup, and it's overflowing, and we can give it away, okay? When we're filling up our cup and it overflows, give away. By the way, this Impact Dentistry, this podcast is sponsored by, no, he didn't sponsor us, but Dr. Daniel, he's one of our guys in our community, and this is his dentistry cup. And you know what I just thought while I was doing this? I hate when people do that. And I understand why, right? But by God's grace, God's given us some funds. I don't want that to be an income stream for us. But if you send me your business cup, you don't have to pay for it. I'm gonna promote your business on our call. Wouldn't that be fun? I was thinking about that. I'd love to have like thousands of coffee cups and saying, "Hey, this podcast sponsored by Impact Dentistry in Arlington, Texas." Or
Fill up your cup.
Yep, and we fill
It'll
up
be
your
just
cup.
the motto.
Yeah, we fill up your cup. So send me your business cup. I will promote it. You know what I mean? A little background on your business stuff too. But all that to say, this weekend's number one Father's Day takeaway, and we had a guest speaker at our church, and he was talking, which was so awesome. Changed my life. I mean, just the perspective. And he's saying you need perspective and presence of God. And man, what he shared and how he shared it was extreme. I love it. He goes, you don't need anything else. Everything you need, knowledge, perspective, and presence of God. And for me, there was one more word missing. You need perspective. God's perspective of life and everything. Definitely. You need his presence constantly with us. But then I need his purpose for my life. And I think it's different for each man. When I have his presence and I have his perspective, I get my purpose. It's not cookie cutter. So if I could close and just give you guys that, do you have God's perspective? Not the world's. Man, it's going to screw you up. Do you know how to set your table and not eat crumbs off the floor of life? Do you have his presence, knowing that God will never leave or forsake you? There's no dark place you could go that he cannot be in. There's no light you could go that he's not even brighter. No success you have that he can give you more. Because if you know his perspective and his presence, then you understand your purpose. And for me, after 55 years, I finally have arrived to know I am here to create disciples. I'm not here to consume more of this world, but everything I do now will lead me to creating more disciples and multiplying. Man, what a great, I wake up in the mornings now, never hitting a snooze, because I'm so purposeful, because I know his perspective and his presence. All right, what would you give away on Father's Day right now?
I'm just giving away. I had a conversation with one of my brother of mine where we were in a hot tub yesterday, and he says, it's not fair. Why you are successful and I'm not. And then my oldest son goes, my dad suffered for where he's at right now. He had to suffer. My brother goes, I suffered too. And it just, what you were saying too reminded me, yes, he suffered. And honestly, he suffered more than I did. I mean, he really suffered. And I was like, but being a father, it is going to be suffering. And I said, hey, when you're in a hailstorm, is it suffering to get hit in the face with hail? You're out there, you're going to be in the hailstorm. Is it hurt? Is it suffering? He goes, yeah. And I was like, but what if you know at the end of that hailstorm, on the other side of that hailstorm is a table and it has it's like gold sitting there. Would you walk through that hailstorm to get the gold? And he's like, yes. And I was like, would that still be suffering? Walking in that direction to get that goal? He's like, yes. I was like, so I'm choosing to suffer now, but it's intentional suffering. I suffer for my sons. I suffer for what God's purpose in my life is. And that's suffering. I'm still suffering, but I know at the end of it, I know what direction I'm going. And I say, you're suffering too. And your suffering is not going to go away. And as a father, our sufferings are not going to go away. But I was like, but you're suffering, standing there, choosing not to move forward. So I was like, so I'd rather just walk forward and get something at the end of it if I'm going to suffer anyways. And for me, it was just a reminder that, hey, doing God's will, being obedient, creating disciple is suffering. I mean, I lose some sleep. It's uncomfortable. I have to have tough conversations. It's hard. They attack me and blame me, and I get, hurt from that too. It breaks my heart too. And I was like, but that suffering is so worth it though, because I know what my dad's, what he, like you said, his plans for me, and I'm going to suffer all day for that.
So you're hitting a foundational biblical principle that is the core of our training. And it says, a man without vision will perish. Everyone we coach, everyone in our community, if they don't have a target, we don't coach them. What are we going to coach them about? They're shipping without a rudder in the ocean, and the waves of life circumstance just going to toss them around. So your brother can walk through the same hailstorm, but he doesn't have vision. Why would he suffer? But here's another thing to your illustration. I love it, is when you're getting hit in the face of the hail and you're walking towards your vision, what he doesn't realize is we fight what's in front of us because we know who stands behind us. Your son is standing behind you as you take the hail so he doesn't have to. Your wife is behind you. You get the hit in the hail so they don't have to.
Yeah.
Now they're going to get hit. You're not that big of a man and you have a big family. Everybody's going to get hit. But if they get hit less, because you know that's your calling to make disciples, and that's a gift from God, your family, you'll take the hail in the face all day long. And then you'll grow some wisdom, pick up a shield and let the hail hit that, if it breaks the shield and pick something else up. But that's the journey. And the journey is, if everyone's listening, listen, the journey, you can't hide from the hailstorm.
Can't
it's gonna
hide.
happen. You're going to get pelted. Hopefully you don't live here in Colorado where they're big as baseballs and softballs sometimes.
Texas can get
those
that
hails
way.
really hurt.
It's great for dent repair, guys.
Yeah. Well, hey, Danny, thank you for having another conversation and giving it away, especially on a topic that it was hard for me yesterday. I did a quick live. I was crying, man. My father died on my birthday during COVID after I didn't even know I had a dad, and I've reconciled that relationship, made it up with him. We could do one longer on that. I grieved a lot yesterday. I cried. I mean, just never having a father, and just having that sermon just residing me about having God's presence and his perspective, and the journey to get here was so hard. I cried. And then reminder of it was watching American Got Talent. I never knew until now. I've been watching it for 7 years plus, and I just cry constantly watching it because it's like them saying, "Hey, Dad, look, this is my best," and them getting approval and affirmation, and then just crying like crazy, watching them, so happy for them. I was like, why am I so emotional? Because that's what I want from my father. Just that approval and affirmation that my performance, whatever it is good enough for him. And man, that affirmation of that, getting the 4 yeses, you're going on next. Man, I just lose my mind. And when they get the golden buzzer, I really lose my mind. It's like the ultimate affirmation. And men, I want to let you know, whatever you do, your father will say that's more than enough because he created you, not to perform, but to be in his presence. Just be you. I know this is the hardest journey, is accepting yourself. But that's what Danny and I are here for, teach you that. So we'll put some links down there. We're going to put some things that we're doing, how to get that free 5-day challenge, come to the Father's event. We don't even have a name for it yet.
Yeah, I think we're gonna call it the Forge, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, then we have the other Forge. What are we
Yeah.
going to call that? And that's not just
Forge
Father's
2.
only. So we'll talk about it.
Yeah. So.
All right. We're going to wrap this up. Love you guys. Have a great day.
All right. Love you. Bye.